Hi guys, this is John from JWH Millinery and welcome to the first video in my millinery how-to series. So I've been making millinery for a few years now and I've wanted to teach for a very long time, and this is my opportunity to show you guys how to make hats, how to make headwear, all the tips and tricks that I would use when I'm making my own millinery pieces. So to kick off this series, we're going to learn how to make this pillbox. Now this is gorgeous, look how that sparkles. That just sparkles gorgeously, doesn't it? So if you want to learn how to make this, keep on watching. So you're going to need to buy 1 metre of gold sinamay, 1 sheet of black crystal fabric, 1 pack of gold tip feathers, 50 centimetres of black bias sinamay strip, which is at 1 centimetre wide, 1 metre of black rose grain ribbon, and 1 metre of uncovered millinery wire. You can buy these supplies at many millinery outlets, however I tend to use Peterson's Millinery based in London. It's very convenient for me, it's not very far, and it's a gorgeous little shop as well, so shout out to Peterson's Millinery. I will link to Peterson's website in the box below. This tutorial does have a medium level of complexity due to the techniques used, and you will need some specialist millinery equipment. Don't worry too much though, our next video won't need one piece of millinery equipment. Fold the sinamay from one side to the bottom, ensuring you get a nice line, because this will help find the true bias, and this is really what we're going to be working with to enable us to stretch it around the block. Now smooth that down and turn the sinamay over, and what you're going to need to is you need to grab your block and place that on the sinamay on the edge, just ensuring that you have round about 2-3 centimetres at the bottom and at the top. Now grab a pen and just mark along the top where you're going to be cutting, and if you do this along the edge of the sinamay, just to ensure you get the right width that you're going to need to work with later, and make sure you cut out 4 strips of sinamay doing this. Now get a piece of calico or even a bit of fabric and just spray the sinamay strips with some water. This will help with pliability and help us stretch the sinamay around the block even easier than it is usually. Grab your hat block and just cover the hat block with some cling film. The reason why we do this, it just helps prolong the life of the block. Now as you can see, I've had this block for a while and there are some pinholes. The it's starting to look a little bit wear and tear on that, and what this will do is this will just protect that from any damage to the block. So this is where the fun begins. Just make sure the sinamay is damp and give it a good old spray should you need to, and using your hands just give it a good old smooth down on the block, ensuring there is a little bit of sinamay on both at the top and the bottom of the block. Now you'll probably need to use a pin to secure the first piece. What this will do, this will just help secure it to the block, and as you're going round adding more layers, you can just take the pin out and re-pin it. So just keep going round, pulling the sinamay taut, spraying it should you need to, and the reason for this is just a little bit more pliable, and just keep pulling taut, smoothing that down and removing the pin to finish off that piece should you need to. As you come to the end, just keep smoothing, just keep pulling taut and keep pushing that over the edge to make sure that you've definitely got it on both sides, because you are going to need that later on, and smooth it down. Secure the end of the sinamay with some blocking pins. Now these are special pins from Guy Moss Brown, and I will link to these below. They're not that expensive really, and I've had these a while and they do last a long time. If you don't have these, or if you don't want to get these, you can use dressmaking pins. You can use any sort of pins as long as something will hold that into place. Now pulling it taut over the bottom and the top of the block, you need to do this once on one side, pop a pin in, and this will help secure that first bit so that you can start really giving a nice crisp edge along the top and the bottom of this. If you do this to the north, the south, the east and the west, just pull it taut over the side, hold it down and pop a pin in. The reason why we do this is it's easier to pull on the bias to give that really sharp, crisp finish that we're trying to achieve. So once you've done that, it's going to be easier now to pull on the bias. So just pop a little pin in and just keep pulling. Just keep pulling that top, popping a pin, use as many pins as you could possibly use. The more you use, the more you pull, the crisper the edge and the nicer the finish that we're going to achieve. Apply millinery stiffener to the sinamay using the quantities shown below. Make sure you fully cover the sinamay, getting into all the layers to give a hard finish. This will ensure that the hat isn't floppy, it's more rigid and it's easier to work with later. Block the crystal fabric the same way as the sinamay, but make sure you put a piece of sinamay underneath the fabric. This will help give the fabric structure later on. Spray with water and leave both to dry overnight. Once the top has fully dried, remove the blocking pins and turn the fabric upside down. Using black thread, sew the sinamay to the fabric, making sure to use very small stitches. Be careful though that the thread doesn't catch on the sequins as it can knot the thread. Once the sinamay is dried, make some small cuts on the bottom lip to allow you to take the sinamay off the block. Push up from the top side, a bit like you would taking a cake out of its tin. Bend the sinamay back over on itself along the bottom. This will allow us to put the millinery wire in later. Using wire cutters, cut enough millinery wire to go round the block twice and make a support just slightly bigger than the actual block itself. Use masking tape to secure this together. This will make sure the bottom of the hat doesn't lose its shape or get deformed. Tuck the wire into the bottom groove of the hat and trim any excess sinamay away. Now, sew in some black grosgrain ribbon using some very small gold stitches. If you do have any visible stitches, these can be hidden using a black small non-transferable marker pen. I like to pin my ribbon into place before I start stitching, just so it assists me with any placement that I need to do, but just be careful of the pins on the outside because they are quite sharp. Place the tip of the hat into the crown using pins to secure and stitch this into place using gold thread. Word of warning though, this is quite tricky, so it might be better to use less pins and use the stitching to pull it taut. And this is what you should end up with. Now look how that beautifully shines in the light. Now it is a little bit of a mess underneath, so you may just want to give this a little bit of a trim just to tidy that up. But look how that sparkles. Using the last strip of sinamay, fold into 4 and cut a petal or a leaf shape out. Using the hand rolling technique, roll each side of the petals, making sure that the roll is on the same side as each other. This is quite time consuming and quite monotonous, so it's best done when you're watching TV. If you want to know more about millinery techniques, let me know in the comments below and I will look at doing a Millinery 101 series. To finish the petals, just twist the end to a nice sharp point. Attach the finished petals to the side of the hat where the final edge of the sinamay strip finished. You'll only need a couple of stitches to do this. Make sure you check the tops of the petals as well to ensure that it looks nice and the placement is correct. Position the feathers in between the petals before you glue them down. I tend to use UHU glue as you only need a small amount and it's quick drying. The reason why we don't use glue much in millinery is if you need to make changes, it's easier to do with stitches. Using the black bias sinamay, make a small simple loop and stitch this over the top of the feathers where you glued them into place. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I got very excited making this video. It was my very first one, and hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this and want more. Let me know in the comment box below if you've got any ideas, any themes that you want to see me make, and I'll look at them and hopefully I'll be able to make them for you guys. And make sure you subscribe so then you know when my future videos are coming out.